So here we are on day 2 of making the Reese Cooper chore coat. The designer put out this really cool DIY kit to make your own. If you guys missed the last video, you should definitely check it out. But just for a quick primer, we've got a nice handy dandy guide here with all of these steps. I have never made a piece of clothing in my entire damn life, but I trust Reese. I know he's got the instructions that I need, even though I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm terrible at everything. Anyway, I tapped out yesterday because we had just gotten to by far the hardest part. Or maybe it won't end up being the hardest, but definitely the scariest part so far, because we have to start actually sewing this damn thing together. And that thought is just terrifying to me. But we gotta start somewhere, so let's do it. But first, I've looked into it, and a very small percentage of you are actually subscribed to the channel. It's completely free. Just press that button and you will not regret it. Thank you so much. Alright, so I have my sewing machine set up. I've got my scraps right here. So now we've just got to kind of put them together and see what happens before, as I said, I start to destroy my very carefully cut pieces of actual fabric for the jacket, because I bet these first couple attempts ain't gonna go well. So, it's sketchy, but it's a stitch. It's also really like zigzaggy. I've got to kind of figure that out, mess with the settings a bit, but honestly, for a first attempt, I'm pleasantly surprised, I guess. I gotta get those lines just a wee bit straighter. So the settings I changed made it a lot better. I think that's much closer to what I'm looking for, and it's actually a lot stronger too. I've got to work a lot more on my, on just keeping things straight, you know, working down a straight line. That's pretty important to these types of things. And I was also thinking about it, and I think I want a different type of thread, but I don't own a different type of thread, or a different color rather. He includes this tag with it, which we're going to be putting on much later in the process, but I really like the color of it. It's like a deep green, so I'm just going to keep practicing for the night, getting my line straighter, and then I'll go to the store and get that color thread, and we'll get popping another day. So, short one today. Alright, we are officially on day 3 of this adventure of me making a piece of clothing for the first time ever by hand with this Reese Cooper DIY chore coat kit. And where we left things off, well, I don't have what I need. I want a different colored thread because I think it'll work really well with the fabric we've got. So we've got to take a little field trip to the craft store to find some new thread. Let's go. Joanne, 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 Joanne. Jesus, I am just tone deaf. Oh my God. Anyway, we're here. Let's get some threads. All right, guys, we got everything we need. We got threads, all sorts of threads. We got empty bobbins, little boblets, little hobbits. I don't know what to call them. They're bobbins. I know what they are. I'm not an idiot, you guys. Anyway, actually, I am an idiot because I forgot to bring either any of the fabric swatches or that tag I was trying to match it with to the craft store with me. So I just kind of went and got a bunch of stuff, and I think at least some of them will work. I really hope they do. I don't want to have to come back out. There's a coronavirus going on, if you haven't heard. So let's cross our fingers and hope we're all good. All right, I'm back. I looked them all over, and I think that the dark green one I got will work the best. You know, I filled my boblin up. And yes, I do know what they're actually called, but I just think bobbin is a silly name, so boblin, whatever I want to call it, that's what I'm going to call it. But I want to now test what that green looks like on this fabric. All these steps are taking a lot longer than I expected to. I thought we'd have this thing all sewn together by now, but no, we got to be careful. I don't want to ruin anything. So let's see what we got here. So there is our stitch right there. I'm happy with that. I'm liking how that looks. So yeah, we're just gonna go with it. Let's go back to the guide and see what we actually have to do now that we're actually ready to go. Now it's time to begin sewing. We're gonna start with the back piece. There's a seam down the middle, so you'll need to combine them. Easy enough. Put the two pieces on top of each other so they match up. Use a 1/2 inch seam allowance to sew the two pieces together. Okay. So that's the two pieces on top of each other, but my biggest fear right now is just sewing them together with a straight line. I've had issues in my tests, I'll say that much. So I'm actually going to use a pencil and ruler to make that 1/2 inch seam allowance down there so I can just follow that line and be good to go. Well, I did it and it actually worked out super well. I'm super happy with that. I mean, a seam like that, it's not really going to be visible to anybody, but here, let me turn it over. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a piece of clothing, which is more than I ever could have hoped. So now we need to open the pieces up so the seam is on the inside and add an edge stitch. This actually confused me a lot and I had to think about it a bunch, but I think I finally figured it out. So you put one edge stitch or multiple stitches. Adding a second is called a top stitch. I also thought about this, and I don't know if I have the skill to keep a line straight enough and keep these stitches close enough together to get away with a top stitch. I may just stick with a single edge stitch. But this one was kind of hard for me to visualize, so I might as well just try and do it and then see how it looks, and I'll show you guys. And I'm definitely going to do the kind of like pencil trick again because that helped me a lot with the last one. So there it is, our coat actually has a back. I don't know exactly how that happened, but I guess I made it work. So here is our edge stitch, and I actually managed to keep it super straight somehow. I don't really know how. It does get a little wonky at some point. Where is it? Yeah, it's like right over here. It comes around. But honestly, I'm pretty damn happy. I'm not going to complain about that. So, success, I guess. Step 12 out of 40. I can't believe there's still that much to do, but I guess it's a long road ahead. Next, we're going to mark the folded hems on the pockets. Mark 2 lines running parallel to the top of the pocket with your pencil. One should be 1 inch from the edge and the other should be 1/4 from the edge. Do this on all 4 pockets. So you just gotta mark them up with little lines. Hey, I did that yesterday. No biggie, we got this. And that is all 4 of those pockets. That's right, an easy step. I love it when that happens. Before I turn this page, I'm going to predict that the next one will not be so easy. We're never that lucky. It never gives us 2 easy steps in a row. So, unlucky 13, here we come. Use an iron to fold and press the 1/4 inch line and the 1 inch line on all 4 pieces. The pressed folds make it easier to sew. And that is that, nice and painless. They are all ironed and folded over and ready to go for whatever on earth is next. So speaking of which, let's find out what crazy thing Reese is gonna have us do now. Reese, you're killing me. I had to go buy bobbins and thread and an iron, all for this dang chore jacket that I really wanna make. Step 14, sew the edge of the pocket that you ironed and creased with an edge stitch next. So right along the edge there, we just gotta stitch these. That's easy enough for me. I can do that, I think. Fuck you, Reese, you thought I couldn't do it, but there they are, all 4 pockets. Try throwing something harder at me next time, all right? Actually, I shouldn't have said that because probably the next one is gonna be harder. Let's find out. Okay, Reese, what new forms of torture have you cooked up for me now? Step 15. Geez, we're getting there, huh? Actually, we're not getting there at all. But mark a 1/2 inch seam allowance around the edges of all the pockets. That's super easy, okay. Fold and press edges with your iron. All right, same old, same old. I can do that. That's all of step 15. Another fairly easy one, I think. And that is 4 pockets ironed out with those seams done. And I actually think they look really fucking good. Like, look at that. I can now imagine how they're going to look on the jacket. And, I think I killed it, okay? Yeah. Now we gotta sew. That's the part where I will most certainly not kill it. Now place the folded pockets on the front panels using the markings you made to line up the corners. So here's where we run into an issue, because if you remember, we did not do that. But I really don't think it's much of an issue. I think we can just, eyeball it. It's that time-honored tradition in many, many creative fields where you just you wing it and you use your eyeballs and you eyeball it. So let's just do that. Let there be pockets. I did end up using the pattern pieces, but it just wasn't as in-depth as the steps kind of went into. I just kind of used them for placement, looked underneath and saw and placed them from there. It wasn't too bad. So now, part of the same step, we didn't even get to finish the step there. That definitely felt like a step, Reese, but I won't hold it against you. Stitch the edges and add additional top stitches as desired. Back to the sewing machine. Here we go. So that's 3 pockets on there. That's a lot of sewing all around each corner here. It's a daunting task, Reese, okay? But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for you. And it worked. It was definitely sketchy, kind of coming around the corners and stuff, like I didn't really know what I was doing, but it's on there and I think it looks okay. So we got to do the rest of them now. And that is all 3 outer pockets done. You thought that was going to be the step that took me down, Reese, but no, I live to fight another day. I like how in this whole process, Reese Cooper has become like my mortal enemy, even though he's the person who was kind enough to put this all together and get me making it in the first place. But as long as we're following these steps, this is how it's got to go. This is a fight to the death here. Now flip the front piece over. Place the interior pocket on the markings as you did for the exterior pockets. The edge of this pocket lines up with the edge of the fabric. Nice and easy. When sewing the interior pocket, only stitch the bottom and the edge closest to the armhole. So that side's going to be... Oh, that makes sense. So the seam right here will do the work for us, I suppose. So that makes sense. But I just did 3 pockets over here, and you want me to do another one? What I'm being asked to do here, but I guess we got to do it. So I'm placing this, and I'm actually a bit lost, because as you can see, this pocket doesn't make it anywhere near the edge of the fabric over here. So if I were to do that, as you can see, it would lay on top of the inside of this pocket here. So you'd have this stitch going along here and it would just look really weird. So I've got to do some problem solving here and figure out what's going on. All right, so looking things over in the book, really hasn't helped. Like, I don't understand what's wrong here, what I'm supposed to do. So I actually think my best move is to just wait and not put this pocket in yet and take a few steps down the road and see how things shake out, because I can really do this anytime. There's nothing stopping me at any later point, I don't think, from putting this in. So let's just move on for now. Now that the front and back are done, we are going to combine them. Oh, I was scared of this. Sew the shoulders together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, then add an edge stitch to hold it down. Oh God, terrifying. Okay. Alright, the front and back are stitched together at the shoulders. It was nice and easy. Lines are pretty straight, so I'm super happy with that. But now I've got to do the edge stitches on both of them, which is the much scarier part, because those are, actually visible. So yeah. Now those are some clean fucking edge stitches. Those are good lines. I'm super happy with that. So what's next, Reese? What do you got to throw at me now? Because I'm crushing it. Note, it's in all caps, so obviously very important. Sleeves will come next. The back side of the sleeves are noted using 2 notches So that is what those are for. Now we know. The more you know. You'll see that there is also a notch at the top of the sleeve and one notch at the front of the sleeve. Okay? These same notches are reflected on the front and back pieces of the jacket. Oh, so you like match them up, I suppose. Okay, let's do it. So I got these put together and I figured, you know, I started over here, lined them up perfectly, went all the way around, yada, 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 yada. But then I get over here and there's tons of extra sleeve fabric after this. And then I noticed the notch and I was like, oh, so that's what they're for. So I think I've got to pay a bit more attention and make sure that the notches fall in the right place so that I have the right amount of fabric left over on each side of here. That's gotta be it. So even doing like the notches, I just couldn't get it to work. I don't know, let me know in the comments what I did wrong. But I can't rack my brain with this anymore, so I just kind of ended up leaving an equal amount of fabric at the end on either side. I figure that gives us enough to have a nice centered seam down the bottom. I don't know, we'll see how it works out. Anyway, we just gotta sew this thing together and see what happens, I guess. So that was easily the hardest part of this entire project so far, but once it's all in place and you just kind of let it flop over and turn it back the way it should be, it looks fucking fine, so alright. Okay, it's time to do the edge stitch now, and then we're done with that sleeve, and we only have one more to go. Jesus. The sleeve is done and it actually all worked out. It looks really good, honestly. But I mean, there was no part of that was fun and it was very time consuming. So we are gonna call it for the night and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. And hopefully now that we know what we're doing, the right sleeve will be a bit simpler than the left. All right, a new day, a new sleeve. I've got a solid 8 hours of sleep under my belt and I'm raring to get this thing going. I don't want just like one sleeve. I'm not an asymmetrical kind of guy. We gotta get the other one on there. Let's fucking do it. Well, apparently the sleep didn't do me any good because I sewed this thing on backwards. Yeah, why didn't you guys tell me? Jeez. So yeah, there's the front of the jacket facing outwards, and that's what I sewed it to. The inside of the sleeve is facing out, so I gotta undo all those stitches and do this thing again, but this time hopefully do it right. My God. And that, my friends, is what it's supposed to look like. Thank fucking God I was able to salvage that one. That was by far the biggest mistake I've made in this entire process, but even that couldn't stop me. Reese, my mortal enemy, you didn't get me, so let's keep going. 20. I believe that's officially halfway, you guys. The next step is closing the sides and the sleeves. Sew them closed with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, as we've been doing. Okay, so my only question is how to connect that sleeve to the side right there. Does it all go through? So that's something I'll have to work out, but I think I can do it. Let's see how that goes. So guys, here's the problem, and it is exactly the problem that I feared, which was, so here's the sleeve seam going, it looks fine, it looks solid, and then we get to the connection of the side and the sleeve, and it's a fucking mess. So I've got to figure that out. I might have to undo all of this and do it again. I really don't know. So back to work. Alright, I tried hand stitching that weird part in the armpit. That didn't work. I had to go through and undo every thread that I had made and redo the entire thing. And it's still not perfect. Well, let's just say it's perfectly imperfect because it is the best I can do with my skill level. But hey, we'll do the other one and maybe that one will be even more perfectly imperfect. We got this. Alright, I've got my lines all worked out on the other sleeve and side seams, and I have a better feeling about this one. I may have just jinxed myself, but I hope not. Let's go. Okay, the second sleeve went much smoother than the first, so this is kind of now a complete jacket. I mean, it's not complete at all, but in the sense, like, I can wear this thing right now, and it looks like a piece of clothing, which is more than I could have said before. So it's coming together. Alright, it is getting late, so we will pick this up next time. And make sure you tune into the next video where we will hopefully be finishing this entire jacket. Make sure that you guys watch the other video on screen here, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.